Let me ask you something right now, and I want you to answer it honestly. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly respected the person staring back at you? Not because of what you have, the car, the title, the bank account, but because of who you've become, because of what you've endured, because of what you've built when no one was watching. See, we live in a world obsessed with results. But what the world doesn't see is the grind behind the glory, the private war you fight every single day, the mental battles, the self-doubt, the moments you want to quit. And here's the truth most people run from. There is no version of success, strength, or freedom that doesn't require daily work. There is no shortcut. There is no hack. There is only the process, the non-negotiables you must show up for every single. So this isn't about hype. This isn't about motivation that fades in 10 minutes. This is about 10 core things you must work on daily if you want to earn your peace, own your power, and build the kind of life that doesn't fall apart when life punches you in the face. Some of these will challenge your comfort. Some will piss you off. And that's exactly the point, because comfort never made anyone unstoppable. So if you're ready, if you're done making excuses, done living on autopilot, and you're ready to step into the version of yourself who doesn't break under pressure, who becomes pressure, then let's get to work. Discipline is not a punishment. It's not a burden. It's the highest form of self-respect. When you choose discipline, you're choosing to honor your future over your feelings. You're saying, I matter enough to keep my word to myself. And if you're not doing that every day, then you're training yourself to break promises, not to other people, but to you. And that's a dangerous habit. People ask, how do I become more confident? Start with discipline, because real confidence doesn't come from a motivational quote or a new outfit. It comes from doing the things you said you would do over and over again until it becomes your identity. Confidence is built quietly in the dark hours when nobody is watching and you still choose to show up. That's where it's earned. The reason so many people feel lost is because they treat discipline like it's optional. They do it when it's convenient, when it feels good. But that's not discipline. That's preference. That's impulse. Discipline is doing the work, especially when it doesn't feel good. It's waking up when the bed feels warm. It's putting in reps when you're tired. It's saying no to things that numb you, even when they're easy escapes. Every day you have two choices. Let your feelings lead, or let your principles lead. And if your feelings are in charge, they'll pull you into distraction, laziness, excuses, and comfort. But principles, discipline, will carry you through resistance, fatigue, fear, and failure. Let me be brutally honest with you. Life doesn't care how you feel. Your dreams don't care if you're tired. The world won't hand you results just because you want them. It hands them to the person who keeps showing up, no matter what. So if you think discipline is hard, try living with the regret of knowing you gave up on yourself. That pain? That's harder. You don't need to overhaul your whole life in a day. But you do need to start showing up for yourself today. Discipline is a practice. It's a skill. You can't wait for motivation to arrive. Motivation is a spark. It burns out. Discipline is the engine. You build it brick by brick. So ask yourself, what one thing will I commit to today? No matter what. Not 5, not 10, just one. One thing that if you repeated it every single day would change your life. Maybe it's waking up at a certain time and not snoozing. Maybe it's hitting the gym, even if it's just 20 minutes. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a book that sharpens your mind. Maybe it's writing, meditating, cold showers, walking. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you do it every day. Why? Because consistency compounds. Discipline stacks. Every time you show up, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. And no, you won't always feel like doing it. In fact, expect resistance. Resistance is part of the process. It's not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're on the right path. You're not training just your body or your schedule. You're training your mind. You're developing grit, endurance, mental stamina. And once you realize that you can command yourself to act, not your emotions, not your excuses, you become dangerous. You become unshakable. But here's the key. Discipline isn't just about doing hard things. It's about doing the right things. It's not busy work. It's focused work. It's being intentional about how you spend your time, who you give your energy to, and what habits you reinforce. Because every action you take is a vote, and those votes add up. So ask yourself, am I voting for the life I say I want, or am I voting for my comfort zone? Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. No one is coming to save you. There's no perfect moment, no magic formula, no mentor who will suddenly make it easy. It's just you and your willingness to do the work every day, without applause, without validation, without shortcuts. But here's the beauty. Once you stop negotiating with yourself, once you stop quitting on yourself, you realize something powerful. You don't need motivation because now you have momentum. And momentum, that's where transformation lives. You can't control the chaos outside of you, but you can control the rituals, the structure, and the standards you live by. That's your power. That's your edge. When everything around you feels uncertain, discipline gives you certainty in yourself. So build the routine, set the standard, keep the promise, not because it's easy, but because you're worth it, because your goals are worth it, because your future deserves a version of you that doesn't fold when life gets heavy. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your discipline. So rise, and don't look back. Your words are not just sounds you make with your mouth. They are commands, they are codes, they are the architecture of your reality. Every time you speak, especially to yourself, you are shaping the world you live in, not the world outside, but the one inside your head. And that world determines everything: the way you think, the way you act, the way you fight, the way you quit, the way you show up. All of it begins with language. That's why you have to be ruthlessly intentional with your words every single day. Most people are walking around repeating stories they never chose, stories someone else gave them. A parent, a coach, a teacher, a bully, a moment of failure. And they repeat these stories like gospel. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. I'm not smart. I'm not meant for this. And they don't realize that every time they speak those words, even if only inside their head, they are reinforcing a narrative that keeps them small, that keeps them safe, that keeps them invisible. And here's the truth. The brain doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. It only knows repetition. Say it enough times and your mind will believe it. Live it enough times and it becomes your identity. You can't build an unshakable life with shaky language. You can't speak weakness and expect strength. You can't talk about all the things that could go wrong and expect to feel courage. Words matter. They are the first domino. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be aware, because every word you choose is either reinforcing your power or robbing you of it. How do you speak to yourself when no one's around? That's the real test. When you look in the mirror, do you build yourself up or break yourself down? Because if you're constantly criticizing yourself, judging yourself, doubting yourself, you're not being humble, you're being destructive. You're planting poison in your own soil and expecting something beautiful to grow. That's not humility. That's sabotage. And it's not just the obvious negative words you need to watch, it's the subtle ones. The throwaway lines. The casual self-deprecation. I'm so stupid. I'll never figure this out. I'm just not that kind of person. These sound harmless, but they aren't. Your mind is listening every single time, and it's taking notes. You may laugh when you say it, but your brain doesn't. It takes you literally. And what you reinforce, you repeat. What you repeat, you believe. What you believe, you become. So start paying attention. Audit your language like your life depends on it, because it does. Start replacing those statements, not with fake affirmations or delusional positivity, but with strength, with truth, with direction. Instead of I can't, try I'm figuring it out. Instead of I'm not good enough, say I'm still growing into this. Instead of I'm always messing up, say I've made mistakes, but I'm learning from them. That shift in language might seem small, but it's everything. It turns you from a victim of your story into the author of it. Language isn't just about what you say out loud. It's also what you allow in. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful what voices you let echo in your head. If you surround yourself with people who complain, who gossip, who speak defeat into every opportunity, that becomes your soundtrack. You will absorb that energy, that doubt, that fear, and you'll start to speak it too. So protect your mental space. Curate your inputs. Listen to people who speak to your potential, not your limitations. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for protecting. Every single day, you have the opportunity to rewire the way you speak. And when you do that, you rewire the way you think. Your words become your focus becomes your action, and your action becomes your results. But it starts with a decision. I will no longer use language that makes me small. I will no longer tolerate speech, internal or external, that robs me of my agency. I will speak power. I will speak purpose. I will speak with intent. And I will live like someone who means what they say. You don't need to fake positivity. You need to be real, but strong. You can say, this is hard, and I've got this. You can admit, I'm scared, and I'm doing it anyway. That's not lying. That's leadership. That's training your mind to hold both truth and power in the same breath. That's what warriors do. They don't lie to themselves, but they refuse to speak defeat. They choose words that light the fire, not words that kill the spark. So tomorrow, when you wake up, pay attention to the first thing you say to yourself, because that's where the day begins. That's where your momentum is either built or broken. Say something real. Say something powerful. Say something that pulls you forward. And then live like you believe it. Because if you want to change your life, change your words, and don't whisper. Say it loud. Say it with your chest. Say it like it's already true. Because the moment you do, it starts becoming real. Emotional control is not about suppressing how you feel. It's about mastering how you respond. It's about staying steady when everything around you is chaos, when pressure rises, when people disappoint you, when fear shows up and knocks at your door. Emotional control is what determines whether you rise or whether you unravel. Every single day, you're going to face triggers. People will say things that hit old wounds. Situations will arise that don't go your way. Deadlines, delays, failures, betrayal, judgment. Life will test you. And in those moments, it's not your intelligence or your talent that matters. It's your ability to pause, breathe, and choose your reaction. Most people are reactors. Something happens and they explode. Someone makes them feel disrespected and they lash out. They hear something they don't like and they shut down. That's not power. That's vulnerability. Because if the world can control your emotions, it controls you. Emotional control is about building that inner buffer, that space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where your power lives. It's where your growth lives. It's where you decide who you are, no matter what's happening around you. The mistake people make is thinking emotions are bad. They're not. Emotions are information. Anger, sadness, fear, jealousy, they're messages. Signals. They're trying to tell you something about what you care about, what you fear, what you value. But if you react blindly to every emotion, you miss the message. You stay stuck in the cycle. The goal isn't to shut off your emotions. The goal is to become the translator, not the puppet. Let me make this clear. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've trained yourself not to be ruled by the feeling. You can be scared and still move forward. You can be angry and still respond with grace. You can be heartbroken and still show up. Emotional control is emotional discipline. Just like you train your body, you train your emotions. And the best time to do it? Every single day. You train emotional control in the small moments, not just the big ones. When the barista gets your order wrong and you're tired. When someone cuts you off in traffic. When you get that text you didn't want. These are your reps. These are your opportunities. Not to pretend you're okay, but to breathe, to assess, to respond in a way that aligns with who you're becoming. Because every emotional reaction is a choice. You might not choose the feeling, but you always choose the response. The world will try to provoke you. People will test your limits. And when you explode, they win. When you let someone else dictate your state of mind, you're giving away your power. So every day, ask yourself, who's really in charge here? My emotions or me? Emotional control is especially critical in high-stakes environments. In conflict, in leadership, in relationships. Because if you can't stay calm, you can't lead, you can't think clearly, you can't communicate effectively. Anger clouds judgment, panic blinds clarity, fear shuts down your ability to listen. That's why emotional control is the foundation of trust with yourself and with others. If people know you're consistent, grounded, thoughtful, they trust you. But if your mood swings dictate your choices, they won't follow you. And worse, you won't trust yourself. This is why emotional control has to be practiced before the moment hits. In the morning, take time to ground yourself with breath work, journaling, silence, or whatever anchors you. Build your awareness so that when a strong emotion shows up, you can name it. Naming the emotion separates you from it. Instead of saying, I'm angry, say, I'm feeling anger. That one shift reminds your brain that you are not your feelings. You are the observer of them. And the observer has control. The more self-aware you become, the faster you catch yourself. That sarcastic tone, That sharp response, that withdrawal. You start to notice your patterns, and you get to choose something different. You start to notice when you're triggered, and instead of reacting, you ask, what's really going on here? That kind of emotional intelligence changes everything. It turns conflict into connection. It turns frustration into growth. It turns fear into fuel. There's also a myth that emotionally controlled people are cold or disconnected. That's false. Emotional mastery actually allows you to feel more, not less, because you're not overwhelmed by the feeling. You're clear, you're present, you're capable of compassion because you're not drowning in your own reactions. You can hold space for others because you've learned to hold space for yourself. That is not weakness, that is elite level strength. And the truth is, life is going to test you. You will face pain, loss, betrayal, setbacks. You will feel things that shake you, but when you've trained for emotional control, you don't break, you bend, you adapt, you endure, and eventually you rise. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger, more centered, more self-led. So every day, do the work. Reflect on what triggered you. Study how you reacted. Ask yourself if that reaction served you. Learn the patterns, practice the pause, and most of all, remember this: your power is not in what you feel, it's in what you do with the feeling. Your ability to lead, love, and live on your terms depends on this one thing. Master your emotions, or they will master you. Every day, the choice is yours. Your body is not just a vessel, it's your armor, it's your foundation, it's the engine that carries you through everything in life, from crisis to celebration. And if you're not training it every single day with purpose, you are leaving power on the table. Purposeful physical conditioning is not about aesthetics. It's not about looking good for other people. It's about becoming strong enough to handle whatever life throws at you, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Because when your body is weak, it leaks into everything else: your mindset, your focus, your resilience. You cannot build a powerful life on a fragile frame. Most people train sporadically, without intent. They work out when it's convenient, when they feel motivated, when their schedule clears. That's not training. That's reacting. That's putting your health on the back burner and pretending like it doesn't affect your performance. But the truth is, how you move your body determines how you move through life. Discipline in the gym creates discipline in your decisions. Endurance on the pavement builds endurance under pressure. Strength under weight translates into strength under stress. Your training is either preparing you or it's just passing time. Purposeful physical conditioning means you train for something bigger than the mirror. You train for clarity, for resilience, for control. You train to become the kind of person who doesn't fold when things get heavy because you've already carried the weight before. You've already run the extra mile when you didn't want to. You've already pushed through fatigue when your mind said stop. And every time you do that, you are proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. There's a direct line between physical conditioning and emotional grit. When you push your body to the edge and refuse to quit, something rewires in your brain. You become calmer in chaos. You become more stable in uncertainty. You become more confident in adversity. Why? Because you suffered on your own terms. You've chosen discomfort. You've built pain tolerance, not through crisis, but through daily intention. That changes how you approach everything. Suddenly, an argument doesn't shake you, a setback doesn't crush you, a challenge doesn't intimidate you, because you've built yourself from the ground up. Training with purpose also means training with awareness, not just lifting heavy, not just burning calories, but listening to your body, honoring your limits while still pushing them, resting when needed, not out of laziness, but out of respect, fueling your body like it matters, because it does. Every bite, every rep, every step is data, feedback, a conversation between you and the only machine you truly own. And when you stop treating your body like an afterthought, it starts showing up for you in ways you never imagined. There's also a mental component to this work that people overlook. When you condition yourself physically, you quiet the mental noise. You reduce anxiety, you sharpen focus, you regulate emotions, movement becomes medicine, sweat becomes therapy, and those workouts become sacred time, where the world shuts up and you get to reconnect with your strength. That's why it has to be non-negotiable. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. When you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're unmotivated, because those are the days when conditioning matters most. Those are the days when you prove it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Purposeful physical conditioning also helps you face fear. When you train with intensity, sprinting, boxing, lifting, climbing, and your heart is racing, your lungs are burning, and your body is screaming, that's fear in a controlled environment. And if you can meet it head-on in your workout, you're better equipped to meet it head-on in real life. The boardroom, the battlefield, the relationship, wherever fear shows up, your training has already introduced you. So you don't flinch, you breathe, you reset, you move forward. It's also important to recognize that your physical state directly impacts your presence. If you walk into a room slouched, exhausted, and out of breath, people feel that. And worse, you feel that. But if you enter strong, centered, and alive, with energy that radiates from the inside out, that's a force multiplier. That changes the way people engage with you. That changes the way you see yourself. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. When your body and mind are operating together, you become magnetic, powerful, effective. You become a leader, not just in title, but in energy. So if you've been coasting, it's time to recommit. If you've been showing up halfway, it's time to go all in. Not for vanity, not for social media, but because your mission demands a body that's ready for the fight. Your family, your career, your goals, they all need you at your strongest. Not just someday, but now. Because you don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your conditioning. Train daily. Train with purpose. Make it sacred. Make it non-negotiable. And remember this, a strong body builds a strong mind, and a strong mind changes everything. You don't get what you want. You get what you train for. Growth isn't something you stumble into. It's something you chase. Every day, relentlessly, with grit, with hunger, and with intention. Because the truth is, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. There is no neutral. Life doesn't pause so you can get your act together. The world keeps moving, challenges keep coming, and you either evolve or get left behind. But growth on its own isn't enough. It has to be paired with something deeper, integrity. The kind of integrity that keeps you grounded while you're leveling up. The kind of integrity that makes sure who you're becoming still honors who you are. Because if you grow in skill but lose your character, you haven't grown. You've drifted. Relentless pursuit of growth means refusing to settle. It means waking up every single day and asking yourself, where can I be better? Not because you're broken, but because you're committed. Because you know there's always another level in your mindset, your craft, your discipline, your leadership. It's about being honest with yourself, brutally honest. You look in the mirror and instead of avoiding your flaws, you confront them. You get curious about them. And then you go to work. Because growth doesn't happen by accident. It's built in discomfort. It's earned through repetition. And it demands consistency long after the motivation wears off. But here's where most people get it wrong. They chase growth in one area while ignoring the rest. They build their business and let their health go. They develop their mind and neglect their relationships. That's not mastery. That's imbalance. And imbalance eventually breaks you. Growth must be holistic. You don't just upgrade your outer world, you upgrade your inner world too. The way you think, the way you treat people, the way you show up when nobody's watching. Because real growth isn't just about what you accomplish, it's about who you become in the process. And that's where integrity comes in. Integrity isn't just about being honest, it's about being aligned. It means your actions match your values. It means doing the right thing, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you, especially when no one will find out. Because integrity isn't about optics, it's about ownership. You don't cut corners, you don't lie to win, you don't sell out for applause. You lead yourself first. And when you mess up, because you will, you own it. You don't blame, you don't hide, you don't pretend, you take responsibility. That's integrity. That's what builds trust with others and with yourself. If you're pursuing growth without integrity, what you're really doing is building a facade. It might look good from the outside, but it's hollow. And eventually it collapses. The pressure catches up. The cracks widen. Because when your growth outpaces your character, you become dangerous to yourself and to others. But when your character leads your growth, you become unstoppable, grounded, respected, unshakable. Relentless growth also means being willing to be uncomfortable constantly. Because comfort is the enemy of progress. You have to be willing to be a beginner again and again. You have to be okay with looking foolish while you're learning, with failing in public, with not having all the answers. That's how you stretch. That's how you expand. People who stop growing are usually the ones who are afraid to be seen trying. They want to look like they have it all together. But growth isn't clean. It's messy, it's awkward, it's humbling, but it's also the only way forward. You also have to be relentless in seeking feedback, not praise, feedback. You need people in your corner who will tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. Coaches, mentors, teammates, people who call you out when you drift, who challenge you when you get lazy. That kind of accountability is rare and it's uncomfortable, but it's priceless because you can't see your own blind spots. You can't grow in isolation. Growth requires community. It requires pressure. It requires perspective. And the most relentless part? You never arrive. There's no finish line. No moment where you get to say, I've made it. Growth is a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's a daily decision to show up, to stretch, to dig deeper. And you do it without needing applause, without needing recognition. Because you're not doing it for the crowd, you're doing it for the person you're becoming. You're doing it because you made a promise to yourself to never settle. So every day, ask yourself, did I get better today? Did I stay true to who I am? Did I make choices that align with my values, even when no one was watching? That's how you measure progress, not by trophies or titles, but by the strength of your habits and the clarity of your conscience. This is not a season. It's not a trend. This is how high performers live, with discipline, with urgency, with integrity. They don't wait for growth to happen. They pursue it relentlessly, and they protect their character like it's sacred, because it is. That's how you win. That's how you lead. That's how you build a legacy that actually matters. Relentless pursuit. Grounded in integrity. Every day, no exceptions. At the end of the day, it's simple. You either lead your life or your life leads you. You either rise every morning with purpose and direction, or you let the world dictate who you are and how you show up. There is no middle ground. If you want to become someone extraordinary, someone unshakable, someone who commands their space and lives with fire, it starts with a decision to do the work every day. No excuses, no distractions, no waiting for permission. You work on your discipline because it builds your foundation. You sharpen your words because they shape your reality. You master your emotions because leadership demands it. You train your body because weakness is not an option. You pursue growth because comfort is a liar. And through it all, you hold the line with integrity, because if you lose that, you lose everything. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up, especially when it's hard. It's about proving to yourself through action that you're not here to coast. You're here to dominate. You're here to lead. You're here to evolve into the kind of person who inspires, protects, and impacts everything they touch. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. You are responsible for who you become, not your past, not your pain, not your circumstances. You. Make your standards non-negotiable. Make your mindset bulletproof, and never ever stop becoming. The world doesn't need more people who wish for greatness. It needs people who train for it. Be one of them.